Hi, Miss Grace. How are you doing today?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
I am doing good. So, I understand that you've been brought here today for to discuss a little bit of difficulty in making a decision on whether or not you want to seek employment for the degree that you just got, or the potential of moving a couple states away in order to complete your graduate school.
Yep, that's correct.
Am I understanding that correctly? Okay,
Yes,
cool.
ma'am.
What an awesome dilemma to have. Like, let's get started talking about it. How about that?
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
All right, well, tell me a little bit about it, okay?
Well, I just ended my student teaching, so I just got my bachelor's degree. And I've always been really excited about that. Then I'm done with school. I'm done with school and I don't have that stress of, going to work and having to focus on school. There's just so many different pieces and then focusing on homework with it. And it was just always a lot. So I had always planned on graduating and getting a job where I student taught. So, in my hometown, I grew up there. My my parents still live here, and then I had the opportunity well, it was brought up, and whenever I was finishing up my undergrad, of possibly applying for graduate school. And I found out that I might be eligible, but I don't know because the program, it's 2 states away, and I do have some family that lives there, but I'm not super close to them. So I'm just not sure if I'm ready to do the whole school thing again, or if I just want to stay home and work. I'm just not sure.
Okay. So it sounds like that you have a little bit of a dilemma going on. And one of the things is having the separation and the support of some distant family a couple states over or your closer family in the state that you're currently in, right?
Mhm. Yeah. So, my
Okay.
parents, I've always been relying on my parents. They've always just been there. Um, so it's always been nice to have that support system, but and I know if I decided to move away for graduate school that my extended family, they'd be there for me. I would have that support system, but along with, not only my parents here, there's also, I have friends, I know my community, I'm more comfortable here. It's just I don't know, it's hard.
Okay. So a tough decision to make for sure, yes. So what does your time frame look like? Is there like a specific set of uh deadlines that you have to abide by for the graduate school, or do you have like a little bit of time to kind of think this through and over?
So the graduate school application, it's due in 2 months. So I do have some time, but there's quite a process with that. There's a paper to write, there's references, there's all this stuff that
Mhm.
I would need to gather and work on. And so, 2 months is plenty of time to do that. I don't know if I would even need 2 months to really get it done, but it's just I would almost want to make the decision sooner rather than later so I can get started on that and make sure that I actually get to work on
That you're
that. And yeah, and then I
putting
also
forth the effort.
have yeah, and then I also have, I would if I'm going to stay here, I'd want to start applying to positions, so I'm not left without a job for months on end trying to figure out what I'm doing.
Right. Okay. I do understand that. Um, so how do you, let me just ask this question real quick. So how do you see your future? Like, do you see this graduate degree being a huge part in your future? Do you see like what, just tell me what you see in your future.
So, if you would have asked me a couple months ago, I would have said that I got a job at the local school here. I live in an apartment now, but I eventually would have had the funds to buy my own house and, start a family and all that stuff and just stay at that school, local school. I know everybody, I'm comfortable, I'm familiar with all the fellow teachers there. Um, but now if you ask me,
Mhm.
I see myself kind of broadening my horizons because I feel like it's such a big opportunity. It's something, that's more difficult to turn down. Um,
Okay.
so it's just hard to turn such a big opportunity down because with the master's comes the potential of more money, better positions. Um, and I feel like even going to a graduate school 2 states away, I would get a whole different perspective, which may even make me a better teacher. So,
Okay, so it sounds like you've thought through potential opportunities, both for just going directly into the job market and to potentially go to graduate school. And it kind of seems like this has almost just been laid in your lap, like you weren't really expecting it. And it's just kind of been brought to your attention that, hey, this is a potential possibility. And so it sounds almost like, uh, one of those things that you weren't really prepared for. So just something to kind of think through. But that's not always a bad thing. Sometimes change. You've mentioned it once or twice, it being 2 states over and you having to be away from your main support system and having to kind of create a new support system. And that always is a bad thing, like kind of giving yourself that opportunity to kind of get out there is something that sounds like you're almost uh kind of interested in. You've mentioned it a couple of times. What do you think about that?
yeah, I also don't like change. Change is,
Okay.
I don't like change. So it's just so many things going on at the same time that I feel like I should all be doing everything at the same time. But it's hard to be doing everything at the same time when I don't know what I should be doing.
Right. Oh, 100%. Well, have you thought about sitting down and doing like a pros and cons list?
No, I haven't, but that would definitely be, something I'd be interested in, kind of looking at everything, in one spot. Because I'm very much a visual person now that you say that, so being able to kind of see it instead of just running around in circles in my mind of what I should be
Yeah.
doing and what's going on.
Well, this way it just kind of solidifies it. Like you said, it makes it very visual and it gives you an opportunity to say, hey, here are my pros for grad school, for the job market. Here are my cons for both of those things. And then just kind of compare and contrast and see. And then, of course, don't forget that you can also do what we call a weighted one, which is where, you know, just because you have more on this list doesn't mean that they don't make up for some of the extra ones on this list. Does that make sense? Your family could outweigh
Okay.
some of the things on this list. Does that make sense? Like having this
Yeah.
much support here could mean more than having a few things on this list. And that's okay. It just makes it more visual to where you can look at it and be like, hey, this is more important to me, but this has more benefits in the long
Mm-hmm.
run. You see?
Yeah, that's definitely something to think about. I just it's just a lot, like you said, it's a hard decision, but maybe being able to see it visually would be helpful. I just not sure where to go from here. Maybe being able to see it visually may help.
Yes. Sometimes it definitely does. So as far as that goes, are there any but is there anybody in your life that is kind of helping influence your decision or anything like that?
So, my parents, I've kind of talked it through with them and they think it's a good opportunity and I should go for it. And I've kind of talked with my extended family, just to see because I wouldn't want to go to graduate school and not have that support system, like you said. And so I've just kind of like talked to them about it, and they've even offered, you know, me being able to, if I'm having a hard time finding a place to live, I could um, even make a visit there and see how I feel about the community and the area. And if I needed somewhere to stay for, a couple of weeks or a month or so until I find my own place to live, so I think they'd be supportive. But outside of my family, there's not really a lot of extra people weighing in on the decision.
Okay. But I mean, even then, at least it's your support system that are willing to
Mhm.
kind of talk it through with you and even give you ho realistic expectations of what to expect depending on which decision that you make. At least
Mhm.
you know what's going on there. So that
So
is
that is
definitely,
definitely
I think. Okay.
having people is definitely it can be a good thing, but then you go to situations like this and then, I'm not gonna say my having supportive family is a bad thing, that sounds terrible. But, it makes decisions harder sometimes, if you know what I mean.
Yes. Well, because at that point it's like, well, you also don't want to feel like you're disappointing them by not picking what they would pick, but you need to pick what's
Mhm.
right for you. And that's
Yeah.
okay too. I'm sure they're gonna support whatever decision you choose.
Yeah,
So,
that's hard too, having other people, you don't want to make anybody mad or upset, or you don't want to do something that you think other people is wrong.
yes, understandable, yes.
Mhm.
So, okay, I do get that. So, let me think if there was anything else I was going to ask you about it. So as far as it being too, what are the biggest negative, as far as like the negative parts go, let's just try to think about this pro and con thing real quick. I know you're going to
Okay.
do a list later and that can be part of the homework, but as far as us and the session goes, like just to kind of get a jump start on it, do you want to give me like one pro for each and one con for each while we're sitting here just talking?
Yeah, I think that would help me get started and kind of, having somebody outside the situation to talk it through. So if I stayed locally and tried to look for work, a pro could be that I still have somewhere I'm comfortable with. I'm
Okay.
comfortable with the people here. I'm comfortable with the community. I have a place to live.
Hmm.
And then, if tried to find some employment, and I got a job at the local school, then I am comfortable with the teachers. So I'd be comfortable with my coworkers, just kind of being familiar with where I'm at. I would say
Hmm.
a con for that is, well, the initial con that jumps into my mind if I stay is that I will regret not taking the opportunity. If
Okay.
I decide to stay and then, you know, a position opens up with but you have to have a master's, I just see myself regretting that in the long run. In multiple situations, that's just one. And then
Hmm.
I would say a pro for moving away would be just the opportunity, getting to work in a different area, having a bit more expertise. The other area is a bit more populated, so I might have that experience to go with, which may help me in the long run. And I could find a whole new set of people. I would say a con is kind of contradicting, but I could lose my people. I wouldn't have, that comfortableness or that familiarity. And
Okay.
it could not go well, and then it could not be worth it at all.
So what it sounds like is that your pros and cons are kind of, like you said, kind of contradicting one another, where you have this opportunity to go and potentially meet new people and kind of get out of your cocoon, your box,
Hmm.
and kind of explore a new area and to kind of, open up and see what's out there. But then the flip side of that is, oh, hey, wait a minute. I don't know, pump the brakes a little bit. I'm not 100% sure if I'm ready for that or not. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, that's right. It's just, I think ultimately, if I sat down and made the list, there would be some, I think it would definitely help me visualize, which is more and which is less and stuff like that. But those are definitely the biggest ones. And, it helps to kind of talk through them and get that full scope of the picture.
Oh yeah, definitely understand that. So for next time, let's
Mhm.
focus on that pros and cons list set up, and then
Okay.
together, if you want to, we'll go over and do the weighted part where we go through and say, okay, hey, this is how important is this compared to this. So if you want to do for example, the
Mhm.
um my family, my extended family, and my family, my friends, and the new friends that I could potentially make. And we'll
Mhm.
kind of weigh those things out. It's like weighted. And
Okay.
we'll just like talk about and see through and through what goes where. And then we'll just talk it out and see what happens if you're willing and open to do that, okay?
Yeah, that sounds great. I think that definitely helped.
All right. Well, if you need anything between here and there, reach out and let us know, okay? Otherwise,
Okay.
I'll talk to you later.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.